On this episode of Lifeguard, road rage hits the beach.
You're still sitting in the same place. I am?
The woman's claiming she was hit by a vehicle trying to take a parking space. Sounds like it's a vehicle versus a woman. Copy that.
Over. What person would do this?
Then, Lifeguards and Delmar take to the sky.
We use the helicopters to deploy the lifeguard to the victim to at least get to a situation where we can stabilize the victim until further help arrives.
And in Huntington Beach, powerful rip currents have guards on the move.
Do you have a visual on the surfboard?
It's stuck at the end of the rip about 100+ yards offshore.
You know, when lifeguards get that call, we're never quite sure what it is. It's a confirmed missing swimmer because the swimmer had friends that were here. They were in the ocean and they came in and the other swimmer didn't. So we're going to search and assume the victim's alive for an hour, and we're going to keep searching tonight until the sun goes down.
The Lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline. And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, a lot of us are amateur meteorologists.
Good weather brings a lot of excitement, a lot of action.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
I have a 911 call of a distressed swimmer.
I like those exciting days where you don't really know what's going to happen.
Dispatch, a person injured on a vessel.
They are there to save you. They are there to lifeguard. Huntington Beach, California is home to some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And the area presents a unique weather pattern.
Huntington Beach has its own set of weather characteristics. Offshore is fairly flat, but Huntington Beach does pick up waves quite well. So the waves in Huntington Beach are usually a little bit bigger than they are a little further north or further south.
Today, a large swell is hitting Huntington Beach, causing new rip currents to form and putting lifeguards on high alert.
We've had some really big surf over the last few days. For lifeguarding, these are extremely dangerous times for us because the bottom is extremely unpredictable. It's shifting, it's moving around, it hasn't settled in yet. So we're gonna see some pretty big rip currents, probably see some pretty good shore break. The ocean's gonna be extremely unpredictable today.
Ultimately, it will be a day that sees 2 swimmers go missing before the sun sets. A day that will test the Huntington Beach lifeguards.
Hey, it's Jester Zero. Just looking at this rip. That's a big rip. There's 5 people or so.
Rip currents are our main source of rescues down here. Basically, it's an outward current of water, and you can recognize it by the sandy. It's going to be brown and choppy, and that's how we notice them down here.
Big rip opened up over here, and then when I went out, another kid got sucked out in a separate rip current. There's like an inside inshore hole, sandbar, another big inshore hole, so people getting on that sandbar and then dumping back in.
Lifeguards can often spot a swimmer in trouble, even when the swimmer doesn't know it. Lifeguard Rodolfo Nieto notices a boogie boarder caught in a rip current.
Guy's really far out, and it looked like he was waving to the lifeguard here at Tower 3. It looks like he's on his bodyboard stuck in a rip current. The boat's on scene, so the boat might try to get the guy on board unless Nieto can get there in time.
Lifeguard Nieto reaches the victim and realizes he's boogie boarding without fins, which is dangerous when strong rip currents are present. To compound the situation, the victim is also resisting the rescue, but he has no idea of the peril he's in. Lifeguard Nieto finally convinces the man to take his help before he is sucked out to sea.
I was just trying to sit on my board, trying to get a good wave. But I guess the lifeguards, you know, they seen there was problems. So, you know, he went out there, he wanted to bring me in. So we're all good, we're all good. Thank you, appreciate it, man. Strong swimmer right there.
Whenever guards leave their towers in Huntington, they are backed up by both a truck and a boat.
When the guards go out, it obviously creates an opening. And so we developed the perimeter defense. And what it initially does is it makes sure that when a guard goes out and has created a hole in that defense, we back it up and we cover it, and also the boats.
These 2 bodyboarders are at the head of a rip. They have no fins, they're sort of struggling, they're so far out. The boat's gonna go ahead and pick them up. Our boat operator is gonna drive to an area where there's no rip current, drop them off really close to shore. Once they're on board, too, he also gives them a chance to catch their breath. We can advise them, hey, you guys are in a bad rip current. You guys don't have any fins. This is what you need to do. The deckhand's telling them right now, okay, go ahead and get ready to go. Deckhand has them stand up, jump off. There goes the first victim, and there goes the second victim. And they should be able to get in really easy here and save the trip for our tower guard having to go to the full outside break, making about a 10-minute rescue and coming in.
The large swell and high surf that hit the shores of Huntington Beach have made it a long day for lifeguards. But the day is far from over.
911, do you have an emergency?
Yeah, we're over here in front of the water tower, the giant water tower, and we lost somebody in the water.
What tower number are you by?
The tower number is 26.
The lifeguards are on the way out there right now.
7 miles due north of Huntington at Surfside Beach, a 911 call has come in regarding a 24-year-old missing swimmer. This report is extremely alarming because the lifeguards at Surfside have been off duty for over an hour, making Huntington one of the closest beaches with guards still on duty.
We got a call. It's Code X call. It's a witness submersion. Somebody's gone down underwater, and we're going to go help in another department try to find this person.
We in Huntington City Beach, we get those calls regularly to assist other lifeguard agencies for resources that we might have available to them.
For a call of this nature, lifeguards are responding from all beaches in the area, including Marine units from Long Beach and a search helicopter from Huntington City Police. A quick response is imperative. With a missing swimmer in these water conditions, every passing second could be the difference between life and death. As lifeguard Darren Ham and several other units from Huntington Beach race to the missing swimmer at Surfside, lifeguard Terry Sletsky and the remaining guards of Huntington Beach receive a similar call on their home turf.
It's the Huntington Beach police helicopter, and HP1 has just spotted a surfboard in the head of a rip, and they're just asking if anybody's missing.
What HB1 has spotted is actually a kiteboard. Because of the wind conditions, Huntington Beach is one of the top destinations for advanced kiteboarders. The sighting of a kiteboard without a rider is always cause for alarm, and this board is at the end of a fierce rip current.
Have you seen anybody out on the head of that rip? Where that
I didn't see anybody.
This rip is a rather large rip. It's maybe out 100, 200 yards. So, you know, we're thinking, okay, if this board's out by itself and the owner's nowhere to be seen, then we potentially could have somebody missing.
Meanwhile, back up the coast at Surfside, lifeguards have gathered more information on the missing swimmer. He's a 24-year-old male who was swimming with 3 friends. When lifeguards went off duty at 6 p.m., the 4 swimmers were advised to get out of the water, but they decided to continue swimming. At 7:15, the 3 friends lost contact with the victim and called 911. Seal Beach Chief Joe Bailey is on scene coordinating rescue efforts from the shore.
We got a call for a missing swimmer. You know, when lifeguards get that call, we're never quite sure what it is. It's a confirmed missing swimmer because the swimmer had friends that were here. They were in the ocean and they came in and the other swimmer didn't. The first thing you want to do is set a point last seen buoy, and then you start a search from that point. You know, we have a strong current out there. We had the person was last seen in a strong rip current, and so our current today with the pretty good surf is moving fast. So we're covering all the way down to the rocks on this beach, Surfside.
Huntington Beach lifeguards, including Darren Ham, arrive on scene at 7:40 p.m.
They called us in for extra resources, extra people to look, and basically we conducted line searches.
In a line search, lifeguards line up shoulder to shoulder and search the area in shifts from the point last seen buoy, moving in the direction of the current. They will then double back and search the area in a grid-like pattern.
You never know if the swimmer's on the bottom, just underneath the surface. So what the swimmers do is they dive down in a line, they try and kick in the same speed, and they come up at the same spot and do that over and over again. So, you know, these lifeguards are in great shape, and they're well-versed and trained in how to do this swimming, this searching, and so that's what they're doing. Swimming down, swimming along the bottom, coming up, backing up a little bit to make sure they cover the whole ocean floor.
Darren Ham has just finished his 3rd shift in the water.
Basically, when a person goes down, they're full of water. They've basically inhaled water, so they're not floating anymore.
So what we're doing is we're on the bottom basically, and since visibility is limited, we're kind of feeling.
We're still searching. Lifeguards generally work under what we call the golden hour rule. So we're going to search and assume the victim's alive for an hour, and we're going to keep searching tonight until the sun goes down.
Back in Huntington Beach, lifeguard Terry Slutsky is continuing a search for a missing kiteboarder.
Do you have a visual on the surfboard?
All lifeguards direct their attention to the waves. Things happen quickly in the water. If the kiteboarder has gone under, lifeguards won't have much time. After several minutes, HB1 spots a possible owner.
Maybe you guys could try to make contact with the green and black kite between Tower 10 and 12. It might be his board. He's kind of looking off out there.
So I'm gonna see if someone lost their board.
As the helicopter begins searching for a victim at sea, lifeguard Slutsky hopes to find the owner safe on land.
When you get on scene with the kite surfer, I think it's his because he's looking in that area and he doesn't have a board with him. Asking if it's white and the scabs were colored.
Hey, is your board white?
Yeah.
HB1 from 5020. The kiteboarder that's 97 with me, he's the owner of the board.
With the missing surfer found safely on shore, lifeguards can now focus on rescuing just his board.
It's stuck at the end of the rip about 100+ yards offshore. Just sitting there, not going anywhere.
What happened, HB1 flew over. They saw the board, and they were like, hey, well, we missed anybody because the board's sitting out there at the head of the rip.
Wow. I hit a wave on the way out, caught a little air wrong, kicked my board off. You know, just got pummeled by a few waves following. Usually the waves push it in. It's a drag to be sitting out here on the beach, boardless. How far is it out there?
I don't know, let me get an exact location for you. 0 from 20. Can you give me exact 20 of the board?
Looks like right off of your 20, if not closer to Tower 12.
10-4. You just got it.
That's awesome.
In Huntington Beach, a missing kiteboarder is something the guards never take lightly. But today, there's a happy ending.
Thanks, Doug! I could imagine if you had to swim out there and try to find it, because we had a hard time.
Yeah, you can't see it very well.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Even from 0, they had a hard time.
One happy taxpayer. Thank you very much.
No worries.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
What was your name?
Terry.
Terry. See you around the beach, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks, Terry.
All right.
Back in Surfside, the search for the missing swimmer has gone on for over an hour and 25 minutes. And unfortunately, lifeguards have determined that the time of survival has passed. This rescue has become a recovery.
At some point, it becomes more of it's a body recovery. You know, after a certain amount of time, the chances of survival are pretty much eliminated. We're pretty much at a point of doing body recovery, and now it's getting to the point where it's getting dark, increasing swell. It's kind of not very safe to continue the search.
After searching into the night and exhausting their resources, the lifeguards find no sign of the missing swimmer.
At some point, you got to be able to let go of it, and just you operate on a professional level, and at some point you just let go of it and you go home. Maybe give your family an extra hug or two. Tell them you love them an extra couple times.
More than 2 weeks later, the 24-year-old's body is recovered.
The victim recovery actually took place 15 days after the initial drowning. The body was found about 3/4 of a mile away at the end of one of the jetties, which is at a harbor entrance for Huntington Harbor. And then the body's passed on to the coroner, and they completed their investigation.
In Del Mar, California, the summer's warm weather is keeping droves of beachgoers on the sand and in the surf. And nobody has their eyes on the beach quite like Del Mar lifeguard chief, Pat Verne.
My job here in Del Mar is all weather conducive. So if the sun's out, the water's warm, the place is packed. It's wall-to-wall people, and obviously that brings in more action, more things to worry about, more things to react to.
Station 3, 3D1, South Border, Code 4, 4th Surface, 1 swimmer.
10-4.
I've been here in Del Mar for 30 years, started as a student lifeguard and then kind of worked my way up the ranks. I was actually in high school here playing water polo, and the lifeguard captain at the time came to our water polo games and would try to recruit us for a summer job. And the idea of working on the beach certainly appealed to me, and it's been great ever since.
Even with long summer days and big beach crowds, Pat and his lifeguards know that when the summer's over and water conditions change for the worse, they'll need to be prepared to use more advanced tools for their rescues. Helicopters. The lifeguards, fire department, and Coast Guard all use helicopters to aid in water rescues. In this dramatic footage, a Coast Guard paramedic is lowered into dangerous surf to help 2 victims whose boat had capsized in a winter storm.
During the winter time, when we have very large surf, it's going to take us a little while to get the lifeguard to a potential victim, whether it be by boat or swimming out. We use the helicopters to deploy the lifeguard to the victim to at least get to a situation where we can stabilize the victim until further help arrives.
Today, the Del Mar lifeguards will be flying high in conjunction with the San Diego Sheriff's Department.
The ship is going to be turning, so be aware of that. Do not walk anywhere past this part of the aircraft right here, okay? You got the tail rotor back there. That's definitely at, chest to head height. That will kill you if you get hit by it. And then you got the exhaust coming out of the stack right here. It's very hot. It'll give you like a 3rd-degree burn. Now, for whoever is on the pilot side of the aircraft, be aware that there's a collective right here, all right? This collective is what makes the aircraft go up and down. Do not put your hand on this collective, all right? We'll lift off, we'll fly you out, past the surf zone. All you gotta do is you just gotta step off together. Just step right off the skid, and then do your thing that you do as lifeguards when you hit the water.
I mean, we want to be in a position when we actually need to do a rescue using the helicopter that we've been trained. We don't have to sit around, go through briefings. The helicopter lands, the lifeguards get onto the side of the skids, and then they take off.
The very first time I was really scared. It's just it was so foreign and holding on to the outside of a helicopter. You're not strapped in at all, but once you did it once, you just want to keep doing it.
So awesome, man. That was good practice, wasn't it?
For now, the conditions are calm, but a rescue during a winter storm would involve extremely volatile waters and a dangerous environment. So the guards must perfect their technique during today's training.
Once the lifeguard's been deployed to the victim and stabilizes the victim, the way we're going to get him back to shore is using one of our rescue boats. So it's a critical component.
No one knows whether the coming winter will produce large storm swells in Del Mar. But with today's training, the lifeguards will be prepared to handle the worst.
So awesome. Loved it.
Having the best trained lifeguards is probably the most important thing of my whole job. You have to have the best trained, you have to have good people, good motivation, and I think I definitely have accomplished that in Del Mar.
San Diego's Ocean Beach is one of the most popular spots to cool off when the weather's warm, and today is no exception.
Here in Ocean Beach, it's mid-70s. The air is clear, the sun is shining, it's a beautiful day, and it's hotter on the inland, so we're expecting good crowds and a fun day.
With weather like this, thousands of cars are expected to make the journey to the beach, which makes beachfront parking a hot commodity.
Lifeguard dispatch, receiving a 911 call, Ocean Beach. Sounds like it's a vehicle versus a woman.
Copy that. We received a 911 call of an unknown medical aid.
The woman's claiming she was hit by a vehicle trying to take a parking space. She's sitting on top of her cooler.
Sergeant Harris and lifeguard Lonnie Stevens arrive expecting the worst.
You're still sitting in the same place?
I am. You're still sitting in the same damn place. Have another drink. My name's James.
I haven't had one drink.
What do you want in the Department of Motor Vehicles?
Basically, it wasn't a medical aid. It was a dispute between a parking spot over a parking spot.
Do you have any medical condition?
I have asthma, bad.
Okay, ma'am. We need paramedics. I'd like to keep you on the beach.
Is there anything that we need to do for you medically?
Okay. All right.
She basically stated that she was saving a parking spot, and a gentleman in a car tried to come in, and according to her story, was to take the spot from her, and that he kept pushing forward until she either fell or was run over by the car.
This particular individual had a cooler full of, personal items, and she refused to move them, so I ran the over and parked my car in the parking spot. She claimed injury, so I called 911 in case she was injured. I'm just like, yeah, you're just laying there trying to look injured so that I look bad. Let's call a spade a spade. Then her husband showed up.
How did all this stuff get like that?
He kicked it out from under the
That's what
car,
I'm saying.
literally.
What person would do this?
He kicked it out from under.
We're not going to get into it right now, guys.
The 911 call has triggered a response from paramedics and police.
We call 911, everybody just comes. Ran me over. I was sitting right there.
In this case, it wasn't a medical aid. We ascertained that fairly early, so we were able to separate the individuals.
Write down her name, some witness information.
When police arrived, they delved down more into who's at fault and what needs to happen to resolve the situation.
In the end, both parties were in the wrong. In San Diego, it's illegal to hold a public parking spot while someone else is waiting. It's also illegal to run over someone's personal property. If this had been a football game, the referees would have called offsetting penalties and replayed the down. Both parties were warned and advised to have a good day at the beach.
Have a good day.
On this episode of Lifeguard, extreme heat takes its toll on a young kayaker in La Jolla.
Dispatch 31 Sam requesting medics from Avenida de la Playa for an 18-year-old female.
31 Sam, you are getting engine 9, medic 24.
She looked like she was barely conscious. She kind of had the eyes rolled back in her head a little bit, dizziness, a little bit of difficulty breathing. All that stuff is serious stuff.
Then, a hidden danger wreaks havoc in the waters of Del Mar.
North Beach Station 3, Stingray victim, needs transport.
When the stinger goes into your foot, it has venom on it, this toxin that's going to start to really be very painful.
And when the wind changes for the worse at Black's Beach, lifeguards race to save a downed paraglider.
This person fell from approximately 200 feet, so very likely they could have a spinal injury.
Yes, fine.
The lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline. And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, a lot of us are amateur meteorologists.
Good weather brings a lot of excitement, a lot of action.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
I have a 911 call of a distressed swimmer.
I like those exciting days where you don't really know what's going to happen.
Dispatch, the person injured on a vessel.
They are there to save you. They are there to lifeguard. In San Diego, the temperature is often regulated by an inbound sea breeze. Winds from the west sweep across the cold California current and bring cool air onto the beaches.
If you're on the coast, temperatures are relatively cool. If you go inland, you don't have to go inland too far. They can get quite hot in the summertime. When it's that hot, sometimes people want to get away from that heat, and they're going to want to come to the beach where it's considerably cooler.
At the northern end of San Diego, beneath Torrey Pines State Reserve, lies Black's Beach. Tucked tightly up against the 400-foot cliffs, this 5-mile stretch of sand is only accessible by steep and narrow trails.
Black's Beach is a very unique beach. The guards that work up here have a lot of challenges. Doesn't have a lot of good access via improved trails or roads. And if we have an injury down on this beach, it's a lot harder to get a paramedic down there than it is if we have an injury near the boardwalk, say at Mission Beach.
The San Diego Lifeguards' presence at Black's Beach is most visible with their special outpost known as the Perch. Set high atop the cliff's edge, from this tactical vantage point, the guards have a bird's-eye view on several miles of beach below, and a front-row seat to the beach's other attraction, paragliding. Here, the winds are like no other place in Southern California.
The weather at Black's Beach is a very interesting area. We have these relatively large cliffs, and when the sea breeze starts to kick in, the sea breeze is going to be moving from the water toward the land, but when it hits those cliffs, it is forced upwards, and it gives a nice uplift to the air that the hang gliders will take advantage of.
Without the weather, we wouldn't be flying. It's very important to the sport, no matter where you go in the world to fly, and specifically here. And it's really unique, this location. It has this specific coastal eddy, which is referred to quite often, and it creates very favorable conditions here at Torrey Pines.
Experts like Jeremy Bishop have learned to navigate the sky for rides that last up to 8 hours.
Paragliding is close as you can get as flying like a bird as possible. You're just focused and enjoying, and you're feeling the next good piece of wind. And the only sound you have is a little bit of wind over your ears. If you're close to a friend, you can literally talk to them, no problem. Typically, we're flying between 4,000 and 1,000 feet above the ocean. Flying without a motor and only using Mother Nature is just something very, very special. There's only a few types of aircraft in the world that can maintain and sustain a flight plan, and the paragliding is at the top of the list for that right now.
Although paragliders are relatively easy to fly, one can never underestimate what happens when the weather or wind changes.
We had a hang glider fall approximately 200 feet. He's on the Citizens Trail right now.
Lifeguard Jason Yeager witnessed the unthinkable.
I was watching a paraglider above me in the canyon lose wind in his sail, and I was watching to see when he's going to watch him recover, but he didn't recover. I'd say he fell at least 200 feet, from 200 feet up. It was a loud noise, and he bounced off the cliffside pretty hard.
Lifeguard Yeager rushed up to the victim, climbing in an area he'd known his entire life.
I grew up here in La Jolla, University City area. Went to University City High School, played every sport there is. Was heavily involved in basketball, Pop Warner. Then I started realizing that I was more of a water type of guy, so I got into water polo and swim. Took that with me to college.
Jason earned a degree in marketing from Long Beach State, but felt that his calling was with the United States Navy. So he enlisted, excelled, and found himself in the middle of the toughest course on the planet, Basic Underwater Demolition SEALs Training, or BUDS.
The training that you get at BUDS it's a kick in the pants. It pushes your limits, not only physically, but mentally as well. I mean, you don't get much sleep. And after going through something like that, nothing else really seems that difficult.
Unfortunately for Jason, during the 24-week training, his dream of becoming a Navy SEAL suffered a tragic fate.
I was injured out. I had some nerve damage in my neck, compressed some discs.
The injuries he sustained ended Jason's path to the Navy SEALs, but the La Jolla, California native was driven to serve. So he joined the San Diego Lifeguards and became a part of the elite crew that patrol the demanding Black's Beach. Yeager immediately calls the accident into La Jolla Shore's main tower, then scrambles to aid the victim.
When I got to the victim, I couldn't see any broken bones, but he had severe chest and back pain. and he had loss of consciousness, and he was coughing up blood. Well, after doing an initial assessment on his limbs, I couldn't find any broken extremities, and I saw some major bruising on his lumbar area on his back, and I figured maybe he had some traumatic injuries internally.
Lifeguard Sergeant Troy Keach is at La Jolla Shores when the call comes in.
Drove up here, Code 3, and in the way, we try to get everything going. I got units coming from all over the city, fire units. I've also got a fire helicopter responding.
Number 2, go ahead. We had a hang glider fall approximately 200 feet, so we're going to be requesting you to head that direction. And I'll establish command once I get on scene. ETA, 8 minutes.
That's definitely a Code 3 fall, and I'm thinking the worst. I think somebody's going to be dead.
Meanwhile, 3 miles south at La Jolla Shores, the inland heat wave continues to bring people to the beach. But a lack of strong winds on the coast has also turned up the temperature at La Jolla Shores.
It's been really hot, and it's Sunday, and it's midday, and there's some surf. There's about 1 million people on the beach. When you get lots of kayaks going out, lots of surfers, lots of swimmers, waders, people hanging out on the beach, then eventually something's going to happen.
Lifeguard Hodel's words prove to be correct. As the heat wave continues to beat down, an 18-year-old female kayaker has returned to the beach complaining of exhaustion. 10 minutes earlier, her kayak had capsized at sea. The extreme heat and trauma of the accident has left the woman in bad shape on the beach.
What do you feel like right now?
We're driving south, and one of the kayak guides flagged us down, and he said that there was a girl that was brought in from her tour that was potentially dehydrated.
Yeah, our pulse is super fast. It's like your chest and your legs, what? Feels numb.
Given the victim's condition, Lifeguard Sergeant Ben Lewis radios dispatch.
Dispatch 31 Sam, requesting medics from Avenida de la Playa for an 18-year-old female. She's alert and oriented ×4. Her chief complaint is exhaustion and tingling in her extremities after kayaking. She's in mild status.
31 Sam, you are getting engine 9, medic 24.
With several minutes before paramedics arrive, lifeguards will put their EMT training to the test to keep the victim stable.
Immediately when we saw her, it was pretty clear that it was going to be something really serious. She looked like she was barely conscious. She kind of had the eyes rolled back in her head a little bit, dizziness, a little bit of difficulty breathing. All that stuff is serious stuff. We put her on oxygen, we took all her vitals, we kept questioning her about her medical history.
No allergies, no meds? What'd you have to eat today?
Couldn't quite figure out what exactly was going on, but tingling throughout her whole body.
Check her eyes, are they pearl?
Yep, pearl and equal. So definitely wanted to get her to a higher level of care.
What finger am I touching? Give respiration, fella.
We'll check right now.
Did you say you swallowed a little bit of water though when you were out there?
Say again?
Barely standing.
You feel like you can't move? Okay, well, we're gonna take care of you here.
She said she swallowed a little bit of water on the way in, and she was just having a little bit of difficulty breathing.
So she fell out of the kayak at some point?
Yep.
Any medical history?
No medical history, no allergies. She's definitely kept saying she was dehydrated, she's thirsty.
How you doing? Hi there, how are you guys?
Good, thanks.
Paramedics arrive on scene, and the lifeguards bring them up to speed on the victim's status.
She was complaining of dehydration and thirsty.
Was she out swimming or?
She was in the kayak. She was on a kayak, so she might have exerted herself. But we were getting a pulse of 100 and a BP of 90/60. But she definitely looks really tired. Eyes were pearl. She's tingling all over her body.
Now extremely weak and barely conscious, the lifeguards and paramedics begin to move the victim. They must get her off the beach and to the hospital quickly.
Transfer to the gurney. She'll go to the hospital and get checked out and get a further evaluation, but over time she definitely deteriorated. Her condition got a little bit worse.
Stuff over the rail and down on the ground.
Extreme dehydration and heat exhaustion are very dangerous. If not remedied quickly, they can result in permanent damage to both the internal organs and the brain. Meanwhile, 3 miles north of La Jolla Shores at Black's Beach, lifeguards are responding to a paraglider accident in the steep cliffs. Lifeguard Jason Yeager was the first responder.
I was watching a paraglider lose wind in his sail. I'd say he fell at least 200 feet.
Given the nature of this incident, the Lifeguard Cliff Response Unit and a rescue helicopter are heading to the scene.
Lifeguard dispatch, we just need a trauma pack, O2, some rope.
With help on the way, Lifeguard Yeager sends out more vital information.
Conscious breathing at this time, complaining of chest pain.
Firecopter 2 is on the scene quickly. Their first order of business? Dropping a fire department paramedic to assist Lifeguard Yeager.
31 Sam, we're in somewhat of a precarious position sitting down on a steep cliff. There's 3 of us here. Citizens IC, copy.
Sergeant Troy Keach is the incident commander. He takes control of the operation, coordinating all safety and rescue assets on scene.
And the most dangerous part of this call is actually just the cliffs, and whether they're stable, whether they're not. Was my rescuer in a position where he was secure and had really good footing? It turns out it was pretty dicey. You know, it was a pretty difficult ledge that he was on. Is it safe for the helicopter to come in? Is it safe for us to carry the gear down these cliffs? There's a variety of things that I have to consider as a commander. Thinking pretty difficult climb to get down to that victim.
Put a belay on that.
Flake it out, John?
Yeah.
Paramedic Barry Links was dropped in by helicopter.
Because of the slope that we were on, we opted to request the guards that were on the trail to set up a anchor line and drop down a rope to us.
Pay attention. All right, I gotta chase it out, right?
With the immediate danger of sliding down the cliff eliminated, Lifeguard Yeager and Paramedic Links go to work.
We knew he was going to be tracked on the helicopter, so we had a foldable basket or Ferno carrier that he pulled down with him. We opened that up and then slowly, methodically placed the victim onto the Ferno carrier. The victim was in quite a bit of pain and discomfort. We had to try to move to his likings and his comfort level, so there was some modifications made to his placement on there. As far as taking some of his clothing and our clothing and placing underneath his neck and putting his arms in certain positions because he wasn't very comfortable with his arms. His shoulders were giving him problems.
As the rescue team secures the victim in the Ferno carrier, they prepare for the next vital step, extraction by helicopter.
As soon as we got him on the Ferno carrier and all stabilized, the helicopter made a re-entrance into the canyon.
But this extraction is fraught with danger. Crew Chief Tim O'Malley operates the winch that will hoist the paramedic and victim off the cliffside.
As we fly into these areas, the winds are unpredictable. It's unlike, you know, the rolling terrains of mountains or the backcountry areas. This is a very steep, sharp cliff edge. So the winds act differently. It's something that we've come accustomed to and we've trained for, but it presents an additional challenge.
I got the hook, I made the connection to my harness, then I bend down and I make the connection to the bag that is securing the patient.
As they take off, the victim and paramedic dangle 185 feet below the helicopter. Paramedic Links does his best to put the victim at ease.
As we were coming up the hoist, I was talking to the patient and reassuring them. It's often, you know, a pretty scary experience.
With no time to waste, the rescue helicopter departs instantly for the trauma center. Traveling at 40 miles per hour, Paramedic Links and the victim are carefully hoisted up to the moving helicopter. Using this advanced maneuver while en route to the hospital saves precious time for the victim. Meanwhile, back at the site of the accident, Sergeant Troy Keach still has work to do.
When the helicopter lifts off, I want to make sure that all of my lifeguards are okay. I'm also concerned about, on this particular call, that the guy's wife and son were down on the beach somewhere, and I wanted to be able to find them and let them know what happened so, you know, we can get his family with him up to the hospital.
The victim was a German tourist. His wife and son had made their way up from the beach to see the rescue. Only then did they find out the victim was no stranger.
From Germany?
Germany?
Yes. He's from Germany?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you're at the hospital. Who's talking? You're at the hospital. So let's go, let's walk up top. You want to walk with us? Yes. Since you were, tell me what's going on?
Yeah. I'm gonna go down.
You guys speak English?
Okay.
Okay, when he was taken off, he was talking, okay? He's okay for now.
He was taken off the flight and his hang glider crashed.
Yes.
And the helicopter took him to the hospital.
Yes.
He's at Scripps La Jolla. So we'll go up there and we'll talk to the paramedics.
The victim arrived at Scripps La Jolla Hospital within 5 minutes and was rushed to the trauma center, while his wife and son were escorted to the hospital by police. For lifeguard Jason Yeager, his dream to serve in the Navy SEALs may be over, but his drive to serve is a testament to the spirit of the lifeguards at Black's Beach.
The first lifeguard in seeing Jason did a great job. He actually saw the accident, he made the right radio transmissions, he got the right resources going initially, and he gave us great updates, and he got to the victim.
The best thing about being a lifeguard is it's the perfect lifestyle. I mean, you're doing what you love to do, and you're helping people out, and you're staying healthy and happy.
Sheltered by an offshore canyon, Del Mar, California hosts a beautifully protected 2-mile strip of beach that attracts thousands of people each year.
Del Mar has its own unique weather pattern. Mostly you have a gentle sloping beach. The waves don't get too big there.
But these calm coastal waters also attract something else: stingrays.
The stingrays can be found all over the beaches in San Diego and Southern California, but there are certain hot spots.
And beaches between Del Mar and La Jolla record hundreds of stingray incidents each year.
Typically stingrays like very calm, shallow water.
In the shoal, stingrays are free to congregate and hunt for small crustaceans, while being able to avoid many of their natural predators. Unfortunately, these are the same areas where beachgoers like to wade and swim.
North Beach Station 3, stingray victim, needs transport.
7-4, 390 will be en route.
Where were you at when you stepped on this?
Dude, I was like probably like 4 feet out.
Right out here?
Yeah.
What we had was a male who stepped on a stingray, received a small laceration to the foot.
Yeah, that's too much blood for shit, right?
In Del Mar, we tend to get at least 3, maybe 3 stingrays plus a day. So stingrays are relatively common.
Southern California is home to a variety of ray species, but it's the tiny, round stingray that packs the biggest punch. Measuring on average only 10 inches across, this little creature has developed an extremely effective defense mechanism.
Typically, this ray likes to bury itself in the sand, and it does that for protection. But unfortunately, because it's partially buried, it's very hard to see. So if a beachgoer comes out and happens to step on one, it's going to trigger a reflex to cause the tail to swing up, and the tail is where the stinger is located, the spine. And this spine, it has venom on it, and so, of course, when the stinger goes into your foot, it's not only the physical pain from the barb going in, but it's also this toxin that's going to start to really be very painful.
Many people describe stingray wounds as feeling like 10 bee stings all at once. But the pain from a sting can vary from mild to extreme, and is generally associated with the deepness of the wound and one's own pain tolerance. Often, victims won't feel the full effect of the sting right away, so it's important for lifeguards to treat the wound before the pain increases.
It's really case by case. Some people are in here for a half an hour. Some people are in here for a few hours.
The most common treatment for a stingray sting is to immerse the wound in very hot water, as hot a temperature as you could possibly stand. And that's because the toxin that comes from the stingray is made of a protein. And by exposing it to very hot temperatures, you're breaking down that protein so that it's no longer active and it's no longer able to really hurt you.
You're probably the first of a few to come here today, so.
Stingrays are generally very docile. Whenever they sting a person, it is never an attack. It is never done on the offensive. It's always done in defense. And so the best way to avoid being stung by a stingray is to shuffle your feet. If you're shuffling, dragging your feet, kicking sand in front of you as you're walking, you're going to scare away the stingray. It's going to move away very, very quickly, as opposed to just, say, marching on the sand where you could definitely step on one, and if you step on their back, you're going to trigger that reflex and have them come up and sting you.
On this episode of Lifeguard, a special service in Del Mar helps everyone enjoy the ocean.
I went to bed one night and I woke up and I was paralyzed. You gave her a huge gift.
And in La Jolla, lifeguards race to find a missing diver who is running out of both time and oxygen.
You can get how much air is left.
Copy that. Medics to the boat launch at La Jolla Shores.
Abel, if you can vector in the rescue boat on top of the bubbles.
We initiated a San Diego Lifeguards dive rescue team response.
Then, in San Diego, an intense heat wave leaves one beachgoer in bad shape.
She was unconscious, unresponsive to pain, unresponsive to verbal commands.
Watch out. We never had a situation like that.
What was really alarming was the way that she was arching her back.
The lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline. And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, a lot of us are amateur meteorologists.
Good weather brings a lot of excitement, a lot of action.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
I have a 911 call of a distressed swimmer.
I like those exciting days where you don't really know what's going to happen.
Dispatch, a person injured on a vessel.
They are there to save you. They are there to lifeguard. At the northern boundary of San Diego sits the popular coastal community known as La Jolla. A network of idyllic beach areas, La Jolla's features include La Jolla Shores, the Children's Pool, and the tranquil waters of La Jolla Cove, a hot spot for swimming, snorkeling, and scuba diving. Overseeing the Cove today is lifeguard Lisa Darling.
I'm a permanent lifeguard for the city of San Diego. I have been working at this beach for the past 13 years. I'm in charge of the seasonal staff here to make sure the beach runs well. And it's not every day that you're able to make a difference in somebody's life. And this job, I know I do, and I know the decisions I make are important, and I do like knowing that I have made a difference in people's lives.
Today's air temperature is in the high 80s, but the water temperature is unseasonably cool.
We had a little bit of a north swell and a lot of wind coming in, and so that can cause an upwelling. So the water that's on the bottom is colder, so that comes up to the surface and brings up the colder water. Sometimes when the water is cold, we look for cases of hypothermia, and we look for people that look exhausted or pale, and that's just something we deal with when water temperature drops and gets colder.
Darling and lifeguard Joe Davalos are watching the Cove when Lisa notices a diver in trouble.
He was having difficulty even submerging in the water. He was getting close to the rocks. He looked uncomfortable. And then with divers, their equipment won't be on correctly, so they just seem uncomfortable. There's a lot of signs that things weren't going well.
We had seen these people go out 30 minutes earlier. We were watching them and we were kind of wondering what was going on, because they had been staying on top of the water the whole time. It was unusual for divers to do that. I asked, can he kick? And he wasn't helping at all, just a floating buoy.
When we got to the diver, he was beginning to go into shock. He was exhausted. He couldn't even talk or answer questions. And so we really wanted to get him sitting down and get his wetsuit off and really be able to talk to him and see exactly what was going on. All right, any medical issues we should know about?
No. That's 100% pure oxygen. You can breathe as much as you want. Joe, I need a dive profile.
How long were you down?
Maybe 15 minutes.
15 minutes max. And what you need to do right now is you just need to relax. You feel any better than you did 10 minutes? It's feeling better, feeling stronger once we got the O2 on him.
With the victim stabilized and showing no signs of hypothermia, the lifeguards turn his care over to the paramedics.
One of the reasons that I like this job is it's very dynamic. It's not just water rescues, it's medical aids, it's cliff rescues, it's scuba diver rescues, and I do get just as much satisfaction from this type of rescue.
The rescue of the exhausted diver was supervised by Sergeant James Garland, who's been with the San Diego Lifeguards for 17 years.
I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in Long Branch, New Jersey, down on the Jersey Shore, and I came through a long line of cooks and chefs or restaurant workers, and then there was another side of the family that were accountants.
What's up, buddy?
How are you?
Did you get some good ones out there?
Yeah, did you?
It was okay. It's a little high tide. I'll see you later.
I found myself quitting and leaving good accounting jobs to come back to the beach every summer, so I figured I might as well just stay with the job that I like.
Hot, sunny summer day like this, where it's real hot inland, it's even hot at the beach, and we have a pushing swell. These are all the factors that cause us to be extremely busy.
Dispatch La Jolla Shores for a possible diver emergency. A half a mile offshore, there's 3 divers next to a kayaker. Kayaker says that one of the divers is not up yet, and the 3 divers are worried and concerned.
My first response as soon as I heard that was I knew we were going to be launching Jet 3, so I grabbed the radio bag, put it on, grabbed my fins. We launched the ski.
As Hodel hurries toward the divers in the Cove, over at the children's pool, Lifeguard Sergeant James Gartland takes over as incident commander.
And 3 Sam copies, it's separated diver call. I'll start to the Cove.
I acknowledged the call. We requested some resources, a surf boat, a PWC, and requested a dive profile.
A separated diver means that someone has been divided from their group. If lifeguards are unable to quickly locate the person, this call will be upgraded to a missing diver. After that, it becomes the dreaded Code X, a drowned victim.
Copy. We just want to determine whether or not this is a missing diver or a separated diver.
Affirmative. I'm gathering more as we speak.
31 Sam responding to the shores from Torrey Pines.
My crew and I spotted the divers way on the outside. They were waving their buoys.
Jet 3 on scene, gathering information.
I just asked them, basically we wanted to get a dive profile. We wanted to figure out what had happened, whether there'd been a struggle, how far down they had dove, how long they'd been at the bottom.
The remaining divers are shaken by their friend's sudden disappearance.
We decided as a group to swim out toward the canyon, which is about a half mile offshore. 5-10 minutes into the dive when we noticed the other dive buddy came back toward us and, hey, where's your buddy? Where's your buddy? Worst case scenario thing comes to mind. Maybe something happened. Maybe he's stuck in kelp. Maybe his gear had a catastrophic malfunction.
The missing diver had last been seen exploring the underwater trenches of La Jolla Ecological Reserve, a popular location for scuba divers.
You know, you're dropping in literally to the depths of the Grand Canyon with just a short 10-minute kick off the beach. They're probably right next to a ledge that potentially dropped down to 350 feet.
Copy that. If you can get how much air is left and just ascertain if there's any witnessed emergency or this is simply a separated diver at this time.
Jet 3 dispatch. Sounds like a missing diver. There's a 90-foot dive. They came to the surface approximately 25 minutes ago.
I got an initial dive profile. They said 95 to 108 feet and a rapid ascent. So that, to me, that means it's going to be a dive team call. It's going to be a legitimate missing diver call, not a separated diver. And it bumps it up a little bit more.
As the search for the missing diver escalates, 6 miles south in Mission Beach, the hot sun has brought out an enormous weekend crowd. And Lifeguard Sergeant Rick Strobel is on duty.
Busy weekend down here at Mission Beach. Probably close to 30,000 people visiting our area of the beach today, and with that comes a lot of different types of calls.
Lifeguards have received a call that a young woman is having a seizure on a crowded beach.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just collapsed. And then he was trying to pick her up, and she wouldn't stand up.
And she was just limp. And then he laid her down, and she was just like kind of arched and wasn't moving at all.
Pulse is 100. We responded to the scene, and we found this young female, about 25 years old, laying on the sand.
She was unconscious, unresponsive to pain, unresponsive to verbal commands.
Lifeguard's first response is to maintain an airway so an unconscious victim can breathe.
We did insert a nasal pharyngeal airway. People don't like that. And if they have any type of consciousness whatsoever, they're going to fight and not allow that to be inserted.
Can you give us some history on her?
She's my girlfriend.
Okay.
She's been my girlfriend for 3 years.
And does she have a history of these seizures?
No, she does not.
You've never had one before?
No, never.
When did this happen?
This happened about 5-10 minutes ago.
No one around her knew any past history of seizures. We never had a situation like that.
Can you hear me?
With sunny skies and high temperatures on the beach, the woman's seizures could be a sign of extreme dehydration or heat stroke.
What's your pulse right there? 100? 100. Well, 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Watch him 3 go.
Check her pupils.
Yeah.
They're fine?
They're blown.
She had a very strong pulse, had normal vital signs for the most part, so it was a little, interesting to us.
You guys can follow or somebody can come with her. All right, hold on.
Where are you guys taking her?
The lifeguards need to quickly get her out of the sun and to the paramedics.
Watch out.
Girl never had a history of seizure and was seizing on the beach. Boyfriend doesn't know anything about it, no history of anything. Blood pressure was 180 over 120.
What was really alarming was the way that she was presenting and arching her back, which can lead you to believe that there can be some serious underlying medical issues there.
With the victim still seizing, paramedics must get the girl to the hospital as soon as possible.
We responded the way we're trained. We are trained EMTs, so in case something like that happens on the beach, we're right there and they're going to get immediate care.
The cause of the woman's seizures remains a mystery, but she is quickly transported to the local hospital where she'll receive further care. Six miles back up the coast in La Jolla, the lifeguards continue their search for a missing diver. The man was last seen by his dive partners near a vast underwater canyon, 95 feet below the surface. Jet 3 is already on scene, while additional units are responding from surrounding areas.
If you can get how much air is left, and just ascertain if there's any witnessed emergency or this is simply a separated diver at this time.
Jet 3 dispatch. Sounds like a missing diver.
The search is being coordinated from La Jolla Cove by Lifeguard Sergeant James Gartland.
We are mobilizing dive team members at this time.
Dispatch copy.
31 Sam, we're stepping this up to a missing diver.
We initiated a San Diego lifeguard dive rescue team response. All the lifeguards that are on that team at different beaches assemble their gear and come to the scene and start a coordinated dive. It's pretty impressive. It happens really quick.
And lifeguard dispatch, can you get a fireboat crew ready?
In Mission Bay,
You guys ready? Got everything? We're launching.
the first dive crew is assembled on the docks and begins heading toward La Jolla. It will be their job to sweep the ocean floor and find the diver before it's too late.
31 Sam to shores. If we can get the second ski launched with the crew and bail out.
A second personal watercraft joins the search party, while medics mobilize in preparation for a possible drowning.
31 Sam on D2, and we'll be responding to the boat launch.
Copy that. Medics to the boat launch at La Jolla Shores.
Luckily for us, PD was monitoring the air and Able was in the area, which is their helicopter. They came up on the air and offered some assistance.
Able to just try to keep our eyes off that general area.
So we're taking it as a serious emergency, as a full-fledged missing diver at this point. Right now, at this point, we're just the rescue operation staged out of the Cove, but if they should find somebody that's having a medical emergency, a diver, they'll be brought here.
PD helicopter was checking the surface for bubbles. The boats were checking the surface for bubbles. My land units, tower at the shores, the tower at the Cove, they're checking the area for divers popping up, people waving their hands. We have the dive team mustering their crew and getting ready to head this way. The people on the PWC get a best last seen location and depth, and we drop a buoy there. That starts our search.
The search must move quickly. The diver could have suffered a medical issue, an equipment malfunction, or been entangled in kelp. By now, he's running out of air. The highly trained dive team is on scene, and preparing to enter the water. Rescue Boat West starts patrolling the shoreline.
Rescue West, we got a solo diver that just popped up between the A buoy and Point La Jolla. We're going to send a guard out from the Cove.
Solo diver.
Yeah.
Where's Jet 3 at?
Copy. Continue.
The sighting is only 100 yards offshore. Lifeguard Dustin Fierro grabs his rescue board and charges out to sea.
And he just submerged again. He's on the surface. We got a guard from the Cove and Rescue West heading that way.
The police helicopter spots the diver's bubbles and begins directing the rescue effort. If the diver is injured or trapped below the surface, every second counts.
Abel, if you can vector in the rescue boat on top of the bubbles. Okay, for the boat, head to east, and for the paddleboard, just keep paddling straight, maybe 100 feet. Paddleboard's probably gonna make it there first.
And just before I got there, he submerged, probably about roughly 20 feet.
So we lost visual contact with the diver again.
Spotting the silhouette of the diver, deckhand Rick Snell plunges into the water.
Rescue West, all responding units, we're clear. We have the missing diver right at the vessel off the Cove.
The guy that popped up was the guy that they got separated from.
Yeah, we're clear, thanks.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
4 Delta, Rescue 3, copy.
The diver is confused and embarrassed, but otherwise fine. Abandoning the buddy system to explore the reef on his own, he's been unaware of the manhunt he's launched.
He said his name, and he said, "Oh no, is this all for me?"
Because he looked up, saw the rescue boat, he saw the helicopter, he saw the guy on the board. So he saw all the resources in the area and realized we were actively looking for him.
By the time it was called clear, we had a helicopter on scene, a 22-foot lifeguard rescue boat with 2 people. We had 2 jet skis on scene, and we had lifeguards responding from the Cove on paddleboards. We also had the fire engine on scene. We had the medics on scene and myself on scene, staged for the medical end should there have been a true dive accident. We had dive team members responding. By the time it was called off, over a half dozen had reported in that they were assembling their gear.
Dispatch copies, all clear at 1600 hours.
It's a good drill. It's like real life, real time, gets us all together, and this time it worked like clockwork, and we found the guy. I mean, his buddies would probably still be looking for him. They'd be calling his wife. She'd be driving down here freaking out.
The saying goes, plan the dive and dive the plan. So you always follow the procedures and that you set with your buddies. It's extremely important so things like this don't ever happen.
Turned out as good as these calls turn out. When that person comes to the surface or we find them and they're still living with a heartbeat and breathing and they get to go home that day, that's a good day for everybody.
It's a beautiful sunny day on the beaches of Del Mar, and hundreds of families have come out to enjoy the sand and surf. Families just like the Macarolis.
We enjoy the beautiful weather, having fun out in the sun. We love to surf and just families here, so we came.
But the Macarolis came to Del Mar for one other very important reason. A 12-year-old boy named Michael.
My son actually has cerebral palsy and we need to use their wheelchair. The lifeguards are so wonderful. I feel really safe. They help us with him and it's the perfect location for us.
The Del Mar fleet of land and sea wheelchairs are free for anyone to use. Lifeguard John Edelbrock says it all started with someone just like Michael.
Back in the mid to late 90s, a woman out in Rancho Santa Fe had lost leg function and still wanted to get down to the beach.
So the woman did some research and discovered these amphibian chairs, complete with giant PVC wheels that can roll on sand and float in the water. She purchased a few chairs and made a donation that changed lives.
Soon thereafter, we started seeing more and more people, coming down to use them, started getting phone calls, and the demand increased significantly. And we got more and more donations, and now we have a fleet of 6 of them. We have them at 3 of our towers, and make them accessible to anybody that requires them to enjoy the ocean and the sand.
For lifeguard Ariel Crocker, the wheelchairs mean a freedom some beachgoers may have thought impossible.
It's really nice because people who thought that they couldn't enjoy the beach like they used to prior an injury or a disability, they get to come and enjoy the beach and actually get onto the sand, get their toes wet.
And that's something Michael seems to have no problem doing today.
I was just hitting waves and it hurt, but I went through it. It was fine.
As Michael finishes up his day of fun in the sun, another family begins to enjoy all that Del Mar has to offer. For Christina, today is something of an anniversary.
I haven't been in the water in like 2 years. I went to bed one night and I woke up and I was paralyzed and I couldn't move or feel anything. It's called transverse myelitis, and it happens to 1 in 100,000 people.
Thanks to the Del Mar lifeguards and their chairs, Christina's condition isn't stopping her from having the time of her life, something her mom, Veronica, appreciates all too well.
To be able to find these, we were really lucky. It's a blessing. When we tried to bring her to the beach, we could get only as far as the sand. This is the first year she got to touch the water again, so it was nice.
For the lifeguards that patrol Del Mar, Christina's mom has these words.
Thank you very much. You gave her a huge gift this weekend. It was a beautiful gift for her. It's a blessing.
It's so much fun.